So we're joined all the way from Dallas, Texas by Cybersecurity Program Manager with the Cisco Systems, Army vet, graduate of Grambling State University, Frankie Pitts. We thank you so much for joining us. We're in the Information Technology Career Cluster, and I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools. Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, my good friend Tiffany Turnage over at the Madison County Career and Technical Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh yeah, man, I appreciate the invite. I know it's short notice, like you said, but it's an opportunity. I love speaking.
Now, before we get into all it is you do and all you have done, because I'll put your resume up against anybody's. Take us a little bit about your background. You are from Slidell, and even though you went to Grambling, and this is Jackson State territory, we'll let you make it as a Grambling Tiger today. But you went to the HBCU, you joined the military. So take us through all those steps to get to where you are today.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I was at Grambling State, man. I was there for 2 years, and I felt like I needed to do something else. College. I wasn't ready for college. I just wasn't ready for it, man. I did 2 years, and I just wanted to do something else. I needed to change the pace. I didn't want to go back home because going back home, it's not a terrible thing, but it's not always a good thing to end up back in New Orleans. So I didn't want to go back to New Orleans. So I was like, I figured I'd join the military. I joined the military as what they call a satellite guy. We built satellites for the military. We were in charge of building out the computer networks. I had no idea what that stuff was when I joined, but it just was a good opportunity. It seemed like it could translate if I got out the military. So I chose to do that. And then I got into network engineering because as you progress in the military, you get more responsibility, and it kind of keeps going. But ended up being a network engineer. And then they pretty much send you to classes that you volunteer for. So I volunteered to do data encryption. So wow. I was in charge of encrypting military computer networks. It didn't matter where we were. I mean, we went to Iraq. We went to Kuwait. I've been everywhere, honestly. I lived in Germany for 3 years. I've been to Romania. I've been to Bahrain. I've been to Ireland. It's been crazy. But yeah, they did that too. I've been to Turkey. But they send you everywhere, man. And then you kind of, as you progress in the ranks, man, I ended up doing incident response for the military, where I responded to any cyber attacks that happened with the government. Mostly the VA though. So Veteran Affairs, anytime Veteran Affairs had an incident, I was on a 10-man team that we responded to incidents across the globe. We did it remotely, wow. So it didn't matter where. And then once I left the military, I mean, that was a kind of a wrap up. But once I left the military, I went to Raytheon. Raytheon is an aerospace contractor. They do a lot of the DoD work. They build everything, from small computers to missiles for the military. There's a lot of stuff they do. So I went to Raytheon. I built out data centers for them overseas. So I was in charge of building data centers in France, Sydney, Australia, wow. And in Hong Kong. Yeah, and in Hong Kong. So I built out their data networks. And then I went to Verizon. Man, Verizon was doing everybody was pushing 5G upgrades. So I was in charge of their sub-cloud deployments, man, when they push the data to the cloud. That's what I was in charge of. I did that. I was in charge of all of the sites in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana. And then I went back to the cybersecurity side. I started doing what they call GRC, which is a big thing right now, is governance, risk, and compliance. It's pretty much you go into organizations and you tell them how to follow the rules. So like I learned how to build a cybersecurity program from top to bottom. And now I can build it out. So it's a lot of experience that you gain by just doing research. You got to do a lot of research, man. That's a crucial thing. Now I just do it for Cisco. I do it for all of every time Cisco buys out a company, I'm in charge of bringing all their cybersecurity on the Cisco side, and I do a lot of stuff on that side. Not to get too into the weeds, but yeah.
Really, really cool. And you made a couple points there that I really wanted to hit on. Is that first of all, you've been in multiple industries with IT, because IT touches every industry, especially with the way all these industries are getting more technologically advanced with their apps, with their data data systems, cybersecurity, all that requires IT people. And literally every field has IT people, whether they're contracted or they're employees. And, especially now you see hospitals. It's getting to the point in hospitals, IT people are just as important as the doctors.
Yeah.
Banks.
So
And I know obviously computer companies as well.
yeah. So I've done. Yeah, I work for a healthcare company now. I work with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. For everybody knows about Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So I build I help build products for them on the back end. And then I did a bank merger last year too. The Bank of Montreal out of Canada merged with the Bank of the West, which is like based out of California somewhere. But I did that bank merger too. So like you said, every field has to have IT now. It's just actually insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing I really wanted to hit on, and we've had multiple ways of getting into different fields. And
Yeah.
obviously, we are not discouraging kids to not go to college because a lot of them need to go to college for a lot of these careers. But
Absolutely.
tech is different than other fields because when I've heard tech people say this out of their own mouths, they're not necessarily looking for someone that has a college degree. If they have a college degree, that's great. But the military, especially right now, with the tech training you can get with state-of-the-art technology and certifications you can get in any branch of the military, can get you a very high-paying tech job after just a few years. And also, and I know Louisiana as well, in Mississippi, if you just do a couple of years of community college, get a couple certifications, you have the experience that these companies want, you can jump right into IT work after 1 year at a community college because you have those certifications.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's just the difference between going to college and going to the military is that college doesn't have hands-on. So if you don't, when you get interviews now, they're looking for what do you know instead of what you think you know. So the military gives you the hands-on experience immediately. I'm not telling everybody to join the military, but it gives you hands-on experience immediately, and they hold that higher than you going to college because everything they teach you in college is it's all theory based. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, and then once you're in the field, you can use your military benefits to go to college while you're working. I know you've gotten a couple of degrees and certifications from some
Yeah.
great universities after your military experience was finished or while you were in the military.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. They pay for everything. I don't pay. If I want to go to school, if I want to go to take a certification, they pay for it. Like I'll find a way for them to pay for it. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of man. They pay for it. And then even if you pay out of pocket, they'll reimburse you.
Yeah.
As long as you pass the test. So as long as you pass the test, they'll reimburse you the money you spent on it anyway. So I definitely recommend that route for some people that doesn't that just you need to the military gives you life experience too, which is a big thing. Like you out into the world. That was one thing that helped me out. That's why I needed to go to the military when I did. I was out in the world, but I didn't really have any direction in college. So the military kind of gave me some discipline. It gave me some structure. And it put money in my pocket.
Yeah.
So
Now, obviously, with technological upgrades in every field, you have to get certifications all the time. So, if somebody is always wanting to learn new IT programs, new coding programs, new software systems, there's opportunities for it because if you're one of the first people to learn something, you can be on a head start in getting some of these great jobs.
oh yeah, it's not even just certifications too. It's just continuing ed. Like when you step into a field, you have to continue ed. If you can't afford to get certifications all the time, no, everybody can't do that. So I push continuing ed. There's multiple websites that you can go to, like Coursera, like Udemy, that you can get discounted training and you can get you can get a full course. It's almost college level for $12. So it's just a lot of different websites that you can utilize now to get the actual training. It's just up to you how you apply.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, we have several in this class that are interested in IT careers, and we have a great IT program in our VOTEC Center over there at MCTC for Madison County Schools. So, for kids that maybe are on the fence about going to college, but they really want to get into IT, what are some things they can start learning now, some programs they can start learning now to get into this field?
Man, the foundation of IT is networks. So I recommend you learning how to build a network now. It'll save you a lot of time and it'll give you a leg up on a lot of people that's trying to get into the field now. Because if you want to go cloud, you need to know networking. If you want to go incident response, you need to know networking. Because I'm a certified computer hacker too. If you want to get certified in hacking, you might as well go learn networking, because they're gonna teach you stuff that you already expect. They already expect you to know in these levels. So computer network is the foundation of everything. Go learn them now while you still got all this extra time, and it'll save you a headache later on in your career when you're trying to figure out how networks work.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of these companies, especially ones with multi-billion-dollar accounts that have to protect, they will literally pay people to try to hack into their system to make sure their cybersecurity firewalls work.
Yep, Apple does it every year. Apple pays $1 million to whoever can hack into their phones. Cisco
Wow.
does it every year. They do they call hackathons. You should look them up. They have one probably in every state at this point. But they have programs called hackathons where it ain't just hacking. They build products in them. They give you a system and you got a certain amount of time to get into them. It's multiple opportunities, but look up hackathons in your area. They do them virtually. You can literally watch them do it. I watched Cisco do it last month. They had a whole 2 weeks to hack into and build products. So it's a lot of different opportunities if you actually do the research.
Yeah, and I know you've done some cloud stuff like companies like Verizon. A lot of these kids are interested in app development. So what are some tools that they can maybe learn for app development? Because every company, no matter who they are, if they were founded in the 1910s, and now everybody's got an app. So what are some ways that they can learn app development and at the same time learning to keep those apps secure?
They need to learn programming. So they need to start doing I need to learn at least I would learn Python. I would learn C++. I would learn PowerShell. These are different just different coding tools that you can use, man. And everybody, Python is at minimum. You got to at least know Python if you want to get into programming. That's the level set. A lot of companies use I mean, there's different product security companies. And that's a big focus right now. So if you can do product security and understand it and be able to speak to it, a lot of companies will hire you just off product security, because everybody's creating an app, and most of these applications are on open source platforms. And it's so much money in it, and nobody really follows it, but I'm following it. So it's a lot of opportunity in it. You just got to do some research, but at minimum learn Python, at minimum learn PowerShell, and you'll be ahead a lot more ahead than these people out here.
Now, one thing I definitely want to talk about too is the diversity needed in IT. And I know it's made some great strides in the last few years, but we had another IT guest earlier this semester. And then a few weeks later, she showed me a screenshot of her Zoom meeting of all IT pros. And there was only one other female, and she was the only minority on the call. Now, I know that's just a small snapshot of the field, but how common is that, and why is there such a need to diversify this field?
Uh, I mean, specifically for Cisco, they kind of push diversity, because I guess it's a big issue right now. So pushing diversity, so they do that a lot. I mean, they do a lot. They do people of color events. They have all the type of stuff. Last year we had Danny Glover come talk to us during not last year, in February. Yeah, Danny Glover came and talked to us. So it was actually crazy. So they kind of pushed that more. But yeah, it's a lot of opportunity. A lot of people of color don't understand how to get to that point. So they don't do enough research and know what to research to. So I recommend everybody finding a mentor. At minimum, it'll save you so much headache if you find a mentor. And a lot of these senior position people will help you out if you ask the right way. If you just come in there humble, that's what I did when I first got out the military. I just asked the question, man. I just approached them, hey man, how did you get here? And a lot of people don't know how to do that. So I think that's a big issue. And then you got to come more than prepared to these companies, because they're looking for you to make an impact. And it's more like, I don't look for small roles. I don't look to just exist in the company. I want to know what y'all doing so I can be a part of it. Because regardless of even if I stay at the company long, I got the experience to do it, and I can leverage that into my next position. And that's a big issue too. So I could talk about this all day, but it's a lot of things that y'all can do that'll set you apart from everybody else, that they have to have you on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm big on that. I always say these IT jobs aren't going away, but the amount of people applying for them is always growing. you've got to do something to set yourself apart, which is a great segue into what I want to talk about next is, like I said, we have a few kids here that are seriously interested in IT as a career, which is great because they
Yeah.
already have an idea of technological advances and where some high paying jobs are going to be. But at the same time, I think this mindset of I'm going to be an IT person, I'm just going to sit behind a computer, not deal with people, that does not happen. You really
No.
have to have customer service skills. You've got to have communication skills because let's say, for example, you know this program better than anybody. You've got to be able to explain it. If a company is going to pay you a lot of money to run a program or a network, you've got to be able to explain to the non-IT people how it works, how they're supposed to use it, and how it can help them. I know just in my career, I've had to learn several different software programs, and a lot of them I had to learn on my own, but a lot of times it took somebody coming in and explaining how it works in order for me to be able to use it correctly. And they may have been an IT person, but they were also a great communicator. So talk about the importance of that, because I think I can speak for every other teacher that sees this, is that a big problem with young people, and I'm not saying just the ones here with me, I'm saying across the whole generation, is they may be really good at technology, but they kind of lack when I'm speaking about technology, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's a big issue too. A lot of people in IT don't like client facing roles. So they don't like facing whoever the client is, which is a big issue. And that's why I can do it so easily, because I can just talk to anybody. I just do it. But it's you got to learn to start articulate yourself better. I mean, you got to sit down instead of just studying for certifications. You got to understand how to explain building a network to someone, and that's a lot of people don't practice that. They just get the certification and think they're gonna get a job, but they don't practice actually. All right, man, what does it take to build a network? How can I explain that to somebody so that they understand that that's not in tech? And that's what I do. I sit down and learn that way, so I can explain it to anyone. But that's a big problem, and a lot of people coming into tech are introverts, so engineers just have their head down. That's what their job is. Their job is to just do whatever they get handed. And they don't really do a lot of client facing until they get to the senior levels. And then when they got to explain it to like the C-suite, which is the executive level customers, whatever it may be. But regardless of that, I try to push everybody to talk, man. If you come through any type of mentoring that I do, I make you talk about what you want to do. If you're not gonna be able to talk about it, that means you're not ready to speak to me. So I need you to go back and learn it in a way that you can speak to it, which is the most important part. That's the missing piece a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, and I remember when I was working at LSU, we started a new software system. It was based in Canada. So this guy came down from Canada and spent a month training us, and he was one of the best speakers I have ever heard. But he was a tech genius, and he made a ton of money just to come train us on how to use this program. So there's a lot of money to be made in that area as well, and I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, and then tech sales too. If you like to talk, if you can build relationships, if you can do all that, man, these tech sales guys, they make a ridiculous amount of money just to go sell this product. If you can talk, if you can sell, like I don't like a lot of that. If you can sell yourself, you can do all that, man. If you can just talk to people and relate to them and get them to understand what you want them to see, it's not that hard if you do it the right way. It's a lot of research goes into that, but you have to do it the right way, and you'll be gold.
Now, the last thing before I get to the students' questions is they're all watching you on MacBooks right now. And obviously, everybody has fun with Apple, but there are so many other operating systems other than iOS. And yeah, it's cool on the iPhones, and there are a few companies that use the iOS systems, but they want to moan and groan when we want them to use the Windows system. But there are other operating systems like Linux that they can learn right now and have a leg up on all these other tech jobs. So what are some other things, some simple operating systems that they can get familiar with that they can have a leg up on any type of tech job?
Linux is the foundation of every product that y'all will ever use. I don't care if iOS uses Linux, Windows uses Linux. It's the foundation of everything in tech. So if you really want to understand, if you want to be an engineer, I don't know what y'all actually want to be, but if y'all want to learn the foundation of everything in tech is Linux. Most companies use Windows. They don't really use iOS much because of just the iOS is more secure in some ways. It just depends. But most companies use Windows. It's just easier. It's an easier operating system. Everybody has it. It's easier to translate. But Linux is the foundation of everything. So if y'all want to start learning Linux now, because a lot of jobs require understanding Linux or using Linux, because you build definitely in product development. If you want to build products, you want to build apps, you might as well start learning Linux now because you're gonna need it.
Yeah, we had a Linux engineer in our STEM class early this semester, and she did not have a background in Linux. She learned it and got a very high paying job just by learning Linux after she finished college.
Yeah, it's very customizable. That's why people like it so much. It's the most
Absolutely.
customizable. Yeah, it's the most customizable platform. So you can do anything on Linux. It's open source.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to get to as many of these questions as I can. I got some really good ones. This first
Okay.
one is Rihanna Kelly. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, how long does it take you to get familiar with an organization's software and hardware systems?
Organizations, when you first get the job, I say about 3 months. So
Okay.
they give you about 3 months to understand your environment. And it ain't like you got to be a master of it. They just need you to understand what you're doing. So they give you about 3 months. If you don't, that 90-day window is when you really dive into the entire environment, and they slowly start bringing you on board more stuff after that.
Okay. This is Precious Blattman, also in ninth grade, and she asked, what are the most important skills someone in the IT industry must have?
Man, you got to have people skills. You got to be able to talk. Like you said, you got to have those communication skills. You gotta be very confident in whatever you're presenting. If you got to be very confident in yourself when you talking about tech. It'll help you out so much. They'll trust your judgment when you're doing a lot of things. So it's communication, it's this confidence, it's a lot of those just personal skills, man. It's not just about the tech.
I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think that's just about any field right now is that
Yeah,
the personal skills. And then again, at the end of the day, you've got to have customer service skills no matter what you're doing. And
absolutely.
I think that's something that is lost on a lot of the younger generation. I like this question. This is Caden Williams, one of our state champion powerlifters and one of our football players here, wants to go into the IT field. And he asked, how do you keep up with all the new technological changes?
Just there's multiple blog sites. I'm at all of the conference. So I don't know about in Mississippi, but in Texas, literally there's a cybersecurity conference next week, and most of them are free if you're in the area.
Wow.
So yeah. So I don't, man. There's cybersecurity conferences. There's all type of events that you go to, and they present on everything that's going on in tech. I mean, I follow all the blogs. If you're not on LinkedIn yet, I don't know if you can be under 18 on LinkedIn or not, but LinkedIn is one of the most important tools that y'all are going to find in tech. And the sooner you get on it, and the sooner you understand it, and the sooner you build your profiles, it'll be so much easier. So I recommend getting on that as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I would second that. And I'm not even a tech person, and I've learned a lot about tech on there. And I've found
Yeah.
some blogs and podcasts, even in the UK, of some tech pros, and they're dealing with the same issues in the UK as we are in the United States. And I've really learned a lot from them just by listening, even in the background, listening to them while I'm working about some things, and it's very, very interesting.
Yeah. It's just, I do everything on there. Every contract or every position I've gotten was on LinkedIn. And it's not just about, it's a social media website. So it's not just about applying for jobs on there. It's about connecting to people that's in the space you're already in. And they'll help you out so much. Like they post information that you might want to read on. They do so much stuff. LinkedIn is a very underutilized tool for a lot of people. They don't understand how heavy it is.
Big time. This is Herbert Carmichael. He's also in ninth grade. Also wants to get into the tech industry. He's very big in video game design, but I think he's interested in a lot of the other tech areas as well. And he asked, "What is the favorite part of your technology career?"
Probably. Oh man, that's crazy. I would say. Like I said, I do GRC, so I like going into organizations and building their cybersecurity programs. Because there's multiple frameworks that you can follow. So once you learn the framework, you got to figure out how you're going to implement that into a new organization. So it's always something different. And it's multiple frameworks that companies have to follow because that's whatever their entity is, they have to follow a certain framework or mandate set by the government. So it's a lot of difference. There's so much stuff I could speak on, but I think that's my favorite part, going into an organization and learning their environment and building it up.
Yeah, and again, and I know we talked about this, but you kind of alluded to that point again. We had another guest he works for the Mississippi Department of Revenue, Finance, Taxes. He does not know anything. He doesn't know the first thing about how taxes are done or any accounting or anything, but he manages their server, which manages a $7 billion account. So he is not a finance person. He doesn't know anything about
Yep.
finance, but he handles the server that does the finance. So, and I always joke with him. I say, "What happens if the server goes down?" He goes, "It can't go down." So,
Yep.
the tech people are behind the scenes at all these things that we depend on.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I said, I did the bank merger last year, and one of the biggest migrations that we had to do was 80 terabytes of data a day for one yeah for one software they were using. We had to migrate all of that. It took us 6 months. So imagine the
Wow.
amount of financial data that we were transmitting, and we were just storing it. So it's a lot, man. I had no idea what was on there. I ain't got nothing to do with banking. It's not what I do. I manage budgets. The biggest budgets I probably managed is about $55 million, and that was for the
Wow.
state of Texas. But yeah, I manage budgets because I'm a program manager. I manage the overall. I manage to start to finish everything from the technology to the top. So yeah, it's a lot of different things, but I still ain't in the weeds counting out the dollars. I just manage the overall. The money's put here. That's it. But yeah, that financial data is something crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple more. This is Mariah LaFleur. She's in 11th grade, and she asks, "Of all the things you've accomplished so far in your career, what do you think is the biggest?"
Uh, I don't know about the biggest. I guess the most fun was living in Europe for 3 years. I really did. I did so much. I got to work with so many different countries in Europe. One of the biggest IT projects I did with them was we had a ten country joint mission, and I helped plan a lot of the network processes. So that was it was interesting to translate doc. It was a lot, but it was fun.
Now, along this, and this, I got time for one more. This is Christian McGee. He's also a state champion powerlifter and a member of our football team. And he asked, "What's the most difficult job you've ever had to work on in your career?"
Probably the Raytheon one. When I had to do the network data centers overseas, and it wasn't because it was hard to plan it out. It was just during that time. It was COVID. Everything was getting shut down. We had engineers getting stuck in countries they couldn't leave. Um,
Wow.
we had that was when crypto was booming. And they had the chip shortage. So everybody had a chip shortage. PlayStations couldn't make PlayStations. It was down to that.
Wow.
So we were trying to order servers and different things and all of this stuff, and we couldn't even order the equipment. It was a 9 month delay on equipment. So I think that was probably one of the most ridiculous projects that I probably worked on because there was nothing we could do about it. Like people were literally getting stuck in countries because they shut down and there was no way for them to leave. They couldn't go outside. So yeah, it was very crazy. That was 2021.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, I think it's cool, and you're from Slidell, Louisiana, which is right down the road from where my family's from. And it's not exactly a bustling metropolis of a bunch
not
of
at all.
high-tech technology down there.
Not at all.
I have family there, so I can speak on it.
Yeah.
But yet you've become extremely successful. You said yourself you went to college and it really wasn't for you at first. You went the military route and gotten into a field that can be very lucrative and very enjoyable. So why should these kids that are here with me now or we'll see this later really consider getting into a job in the technological field?
Because it's not going nowhere. It's not going nowhere. I don't. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, technology is behind everything. The cloud is getting like the cloud space is getting bigger. Companies need better cybersecurity because everybody's getting hacked. And if you follow the blogs, you'll see like there is a big issue in tech right now, and it's not oversaturated the way people think it is. It's oversaturated with people that you're trying to find a job. If you find a niche in tech, then you will not be replaceable. Like I know a guy that just does ransomware negotiation. He
Wow.
only comes in. He only comes in when the company's been hacked, and he just negotiates it. And his minimum charge is $50,000 for him to just step in. He said 50,000. I was like, I've never even heard of that. I mean, they got people that just does social engineering. That means they just go around companies and talk to people and try to get information. That's literally his job. I mean, it's so much stuff in tech that you can do. I mean, the sky is literally the limit, and I love doing it, man. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep pushing. I don't plan on stopping. My end goal is to be a CISO, which is Chief Information Security Officer, which is the highest, level of cybersecurity. That's the C-suite level of cybersecurity at a company. So all cybersecurity goes through that person. That's my end goal. But I think I need some more years to be ready for that. But yeah, it's just too much opportunity. It's not going nowhere. If you learn it the right way, if you learn a niche, and if you do your research and understand the field, you will not be replaceable.
Absolutely. And again, we thank you so much for joining us, especially on short notice, but all the way from Dallas, Texas. Frankie Pitts, we thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all having me. Thank y'all.
I talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.